Introducing something new and rather amazing. A super high-octane gasoline with twice the detergent it had before to give you a plus. A detergent strong enough to actually clean dirty fuel injectors to give your car power and performance it didn't have before. New Mobile Super Unleaded, high octane with a plus.
Lisa Hartman's Beverly Hills Beat, 7:30 tonight.
This is Eyewitness News with Roger Grimsby and Bill Butel, plus Spencer Christian, Storm Field, and the Eyewitness News team.
Good evening, I'm Roger Grimsby. Here now the news. The Mets could do it or undo it in the next few hours. The pennant and maybe the World Series within reach as they begin a showdown with the Cardinals. We'll be switching later to Corey McFerrin in St. Louis. Gloria Day +4, and the problem's by no means over. 500,000 customers still without power along the eastern seaboard, half of those on Long Island alone. Also on the island, continuing problems with soil erosion, repair costs mounting, houses along the beach in matchbox mode, trains running late. The loss of electricity now brings a related hardship, food spoilage. Eyewitness News reporter Tim Fleischer is in Hicksville. We switch to him.
Over 150,000 customers here on Long Island are without electrical power tonight. 3,000 power lines are down, 1,000 power poles are down, and electrical repair work is continuing, but not fast enough as far as some customers are concerned. Electric lines still dangle from the poles here in the town of Wyandanch 4 days after going down in Friday's hurricane. So here it is Tuesday, and most people have had the chance to clean up the damage and to pile the branches at the curb. But talk to anyone here along Mount Avenue, for instance, and they still don't have electricity. Down in a pitch-black basement, Bill Knight showed me in this freezer what used to be his family's food supply. See, some of it's already started to thaw, the chicken livers and whatnot.
Yeah, most of it is thawed out already. We're just cooking it up and giving it to the kids. What else can we do?
How much do you think is lost, though?
Well, we usually keep this full, especially when the winter's coming in. And I would say an easy $500 here.
So it's a hard $500 to lose, isn't it?
You better believe it. Very hard $500.
Still others have found it difficult just to find enough food on a day-to-day basis. So tonight's meal of beef stew comes out of the back of a Red Cross truck.
Well, there's nothing else coming around, let's face it.
You have to remember, this was a hurricane that caused this. Loco didn't cause it. It was a big wind that came, and it did devastating damage.
Some claim that Loco wasn't prepared. Was it?
Well, I think you'll find that Loco was as well prepared as any utility in the United States could have been for this storm.
But there are many conveniences and services still shut down by the lack of power and the delays in repair work. Valuable school time has also been lost, and while the kids may get a couple of extra days vacation, school officials in a number of different districts are trying to plan their schedules, never really knowing when the power will return. Motorists still waiting for power take their chances here at major roadway and railway intersections. Some drivers we saw didn't even bother to stop or slow down. And they certainly weren't stopping at Arthur Bobro's restaurant that has been closed since the storm. Without electricity, he cannot even open the door.
We've been unable to open the stove, been unable to provide the food, into the community.
Have you had to throw material out?
Oh, we've thrown away about 300 chicken plus hundreds of pounds of coleslaw, macaroni salads, frozen goods, potatoes, okra, nuggets. They're all irretrievable.
Sure, I have insurance, said this business owner and others I spoke to, but it is not expected to cover the loss of not being able to open the store. Tonight, still, a lot of people in an unfortunate situation. Lilco has added crews from as far away as Wisconsin to try and to increase the speed of the repair work. They're doing what they can, they tell us. But in the meantime, a lot of people are without the basics, the electricity and the food that they would hope would come along with that as well. Reporting live from Hicksville, I'm Tim Fleischer, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Back to you, Bill.
Tim, thank you very much. And as people do try to cope, as they must, there are new numbers coming in on the overall devastation. At least $100 million estimated from North Carolina upwards along the coast of New England. But people struggle back to normalcy as best they can. Vince Lepar is in Babylon, Long Island right now to assess their progress, getting back to what passes for normal these days. Vince?
Bill, Governor Cuomo has formed a task force to find out how well LOCA has responded to the extensive power outages on Long Island, and also to see how the relief agencies are handling the many problems created by the storm. Today, the task force visit the heavily devastated, heavily damaged area called Frederick Shores in Babylon, which is right behind me. The task force also visited a nutritional center for the elderly in North Amityville to see how it could better help the elderly and the poor.
What do you do with the poor people and senior citizens who have fixed incomes, who lose their refrigerator and freezer? Where do they get the money to start?
Many of the elderly at the nutritional center in North Amityville who live alone are still without power.
It's terrible, but what can you do? We have just what she was saying, hurricane lights, flashlights. We don't use much candles because that's dangerous, you know.
Just have to heat the water on the stove and take a bath.
In the Lewis Pond area of Babylon, people are still without electricity, but it certainly looked a lot better from when we were last there on Friday. The high winds are pushing the boats on the marina here onto the shoreline. They're extremely high tides, 6 feet above normal. Well, now I'm standing exactly where I was Friday morning when Hurricane Gloria ripped through Babylon. Except now, instead of the water being almost up to my knees, the streets are dry, the sun is shining, and life is slowly getting back to normal.
Well, if you're into camping, then you can survive, I guess.
My total source of power is a Coleman stove right now and flashlights.
How are you managing?
They did it in the pioneer days. I guess we can do it now.
As for the kids in the area, they can actually bicycle down the once flooded streets. They're on holiday because there's no power at school.
My father and I and him, my brother, did go out getting, not the trees that went over. We went out and cut them down and put firewood and all. And right now we're playing a game of Monopoly.
Several towns away, a homeowner in Seaford finds it difficult to relax. The hurricane caused a huge tree to fall on some local wires, and the tree now threatens to fall on his home.
I want my electricity back as much as anyone else in this neighborhood, but not at the cost of having a tree in my living room.
But they were just willing to let the tree fall on your house?
Oh, yes.
Well, we spoke to Loco, and Loco told us they would not allow a tree to fall on somebody's house. And also, we understand that the town of Oyster Bay eventually did remove that tree safely. Now, if you are still without electricity and you find perhaps that your situation has reached some kind of emergency proportion, you can call the Red Cross for help. And that number is 516-475-6202. That's 516-475-6202. Reporting live in Babylon, Vince Lipari, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Bill?
Thank you, Vince. And Long Islanders are struggling back. The power, as you see, is gradually coming back, but power outages also still affect Connecticut and New Jersey. Work crews were busy all through this day in Connecticut trying to restore service to about 150,000 customers still without electricity as the day began. In addition to that, nearly 8,000 telephones were still not working. In New Jersey, electric power is gradually being brought back to normal, but New Jersey now estimates Hurricane Gloria's damage to homes and businesses at more than $40 million and another $13 million in damage to the beaches of New Jersey. Roger?
Well, the idea of going to the hospital is never pleasant unless, of course, you're that sick. But now, how about the idea of going to the hospital even if you're well? That's the idea of the city of New York. Bellevue Hospital, a place for homeless families. Well, everybody doesn't think that's a good idea. Larry Menti is standing by at Bellevue. We switch to him.
Roger, Bellevue Hospital has been taking in the sick, the tired, and the hungry for years, and as you said, they're going to start taking in the homeless. They're going to do it at the old psychiatric hospital, which is right across the street from the main complex on 30th Street near First Avenue. The 4th and 5th floors of the old hospital have been vacant for years. We're not allowed up there right now because city workers are renovating 80 rooms for 80 homeless families. That's 360 men, women, and children. The first of those families will move in tomorrow, and the Human Relations Administration says those families will have everything they need on those 2 floors.
We hope to be able to service people, giving families private rooms. There will be health service, there will be recreation services, there will be 3 meals a day. There will be a Board of Education personnel there, and for however long those folks have to stay there, we'll do our best to make them comfortable.
The city says it's become necessary to use the 2 floors at Bellevue because so many families have become homeless in just the last few months. The city also claims that the former hospital rooms will be the best accommodations it's offered to the homeless. The Coalition for the Homeless disagrees.
It's an old psych ward, and other than the fact that there's no patients there, there's not a lot that's very different. It hasn't been painted. I'm not sure how the security would work. It's not terribly clean. It's kind of depressing the way it's laid out right now.
Are you also concerned about what's going on the other floors in that building, the adult psychiatric outpatient clinic, the methadone clinic, the clinic for prisoners that are brought in? Will that present a problem for these homeless families?
Programs that are in the hospital are definitely not the kind of programs that you want to have kids around. The city says that they have made arrangements. I haven't seen those arrangements on paper.
They don't like anything we do, and I think they would like the Waldorf, but we don't have the Waldorf available. And if we did have the Waldorf available, they would find something wrong with it.
We won't be satisfied until they give homeless people a permanent place to live, and anything short of that is not enough.
Not even the Waldorf?
Not if it's temporary.
Well, the debate has already begun, and it should heat up in January. We have found out that all of the other services will be moved out of the old psychiatric hospital in January, and then the city is thinking about opening up the whole building for the homeless. That would be 600 rooms, 600 families, and about 4,000 people. The Coalition for the Homeless says the city just can't manage that many people. We'll find out in January. Reporting live from the Lower East Side, Larry Menti, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Bill?
Thank you, Larry. When we come back in a moment, the question, is the city doing enough to protect people from AIDS? One judge in the city is not so sure about that. The mayor wants to know if corruption might be behind the fact that the city's most expensive high school is falling apart.
The closest you can come to staying at the White House without being elected. The Capitol Hilton, America's business address in Washington, D.C.
You're on your way. The world is opening its doors.
Dear Dad, just got back from my interview with Dow. Sounds like my kind of research. Finding new ways to grow more food, ways to help sick people. I'm going to go for it, Dad. And I'm going to try to make you proud.
Yes, you can make a difference in what tomorrow brings.
Love, David.
'Cause Dow lets you do great things.
Wednesday at Macy's and Bamberger's one-day sale, Sanyo's 50-watt rack system with dual-deck Dolby NR digital tuner is only $399. Quasar's wireless remote cable-capable 14-day programmable VCR is just $299. And Sharp's 19-inch color TV includes full-function remote control with 1-year in-home service, only $299. Most stores open 9 to 11 at Macy's and Bamberger's one-day sale, Wednesday.
You have that way of knowing what to do and what to say. The world looks great when I'm with you. The sky is yours alone. I see you smile, I see you care. Singapore girl, you're a great way to fly.
There was conflicting testimony today in the hearing on AIDS around the issue of whether children with AIDS ought to be allowed in public school. Tappy Phillips tells us now the testimony covers an important point in the argument over AIDS.
Dr. Rand Stoneburner was cross-examined today. Stoneburner is the head of the city's AIDS program. He contradicted an earlier doctor's testimony when he said that men cannot get AIDS from women. But then Judge Hyman began to ask his own questions. Once again today, Judge Harold Hyman grilled Dr. Stoneburner on how his city AIDS program protects the public against AIDS patients. Dr. Stoneburner replied that the only protection was through public education, and the judge called that gambling. An obviously agitated Judge Hyman said, "Do you honestly believe public education is sufficient?" Stoneburner said yes, because already the incidence of gonorrhea is down, and that indicates people are being more careful.
I think one thing that perhaps can come that's possibly good out of all this controversy is that kids ought to be scared, they ought to have the hell scared out of them about drugs, for example, because sharing of intravenous needles is a means by which this terrible disease is acquired.
Then late this afternoon, Dr. Pauline Thomas began her testimony. She's an expert in AIDS in children and is also on the first school AIDS panel. Dr. Thomas said that in a study of 400 children living in families where someone has AIDS, None of them has gotten AIDS, even though they share beds, eating utensils, and even sometimes toothbrushes. Then Dr. Thomas said there are 16 teenagers in New York who have AIDS, but she said none of them is in school. She did say, however, that there are between 200 and 2,000 children who are in school, who have the AIDS virus, and who are contagious. But she says no one knows who they are because they have no symptoms. In Queens, I'm Tappy Phillips, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
In another courtroom, opening arguments began today in the first case to come to trial involving the Crockett Daycare Center. 3 men were arrested, you'll recall, on charges of sexually abusing children at the daycare center in the Bronx back in July of 1984. The first to go on trial, Albert Algerin. He faces the most counts of sexually abusing children. The prosecution read the indictment charging Algerin with raping and sodomizing children at the Crockett Daycare Center. The defense maintained the client's innocence. They claim he's a victim of mass hysteria. The case is going to continue tomorrow at Supreme Court in the Bronx. Roger?
Mayor Koch would like to know what's going on at Fiorillo LaGuardia High School of Music and Art near Lincoln Center. A record amount of money was being spent building the school, work that's still going on, and as Chi-Chi Williams tells us, so do allegations of corruption.
New York City's combined schools of music and art and performing arts are sometimes called the longest-running show in town. It looks like construction on the school's new home may become the longest-running job in town. Work on LaGuardia High School started in 1973. Even though the school finally opened last year, the work continues. Yesterday, Mayor Koch called for an investigation into what he calls possible incompetence or corruption. This preliminary report found the school's contractors being sued by the city for faulty work on a Bronx school. Mars Normal, which took over work on LaGuardia in 1981, refused comment on that allegation, but blames LaGuardia's problems on electrical and heating problems rather than its work. The principal believes the problems are a combination of city and design code changes through the years and a lot of different contractors. Whatever the reasons for the problems, LaGuardia has cost over $75 million, and students are sometimes getting more than they expected.
Well, I'm working around here right now probably because of this school with the cold. Every room we go to is so cold.
Every time it rains, water comes down on us while we're dancing.
The building has structural cracks and design flaws throughout. Parents say the ventilation system has caused nausea among the 2,600 students. Rehearsal studios have inadequate acoustic systems, and science labs have gas burners which don't work.
You have the morale problem and the confusion going on here when this is partly a construction site and partly a school.
We have been running complete programs in all of our studio areas as well as in the academic areas.
Ironically, the most glaring piece of unfinished work here is the school's 2 theaters. They're not slated for completion until 1987. Now, this is a school for performers, and with no place to perform, students say that hurts.
When we were in the old building, we had performances every other week, and now we can't have them at all.
The Board of Education declined comment today. It'll be up to the city to decide if there's any criminal wrongdoing. It's clearly a crime, though, that students here aren't able to fully enjoy the most expensive school ever built in New York City. Chi-Chi Williams, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Next, reports Asian gangs in suburbs threatening businesses and people in New Jersey. And from the state, a brief amnesty for tax cheats.
How reassuring to know each night help is here for skin whose firmness has become a thing of the past. Lancome's Forte Vital Tissue Firming Cream works through the night to give you a younger look each morning. French laboratory tests prove skin becomes more firm with Forte Vital. No wonder the French call it Le Lifting de Nuit. Lancome, Paris.
Le Sac Cavalier, part of the exciting Lancome collection, $14.50 with any Lancome purchase.
You'll find it at the A&S nearest you.
Every morning, Adrian Gonzalez walks through the oldest executive mansion in the Western Hemisphere, past cannons that kept Puerto Rico a Spanish jewel for centuries, over marble from Queen Isabel, past the room where President Kennedy once slept. Today, this mansion stands as a symbol of peace and progress. And today, Adrian Gonzalez takes pride in raising the flag of Puerto Rico, the shining star of the Caribbean.
First, they left the beaches of Long Island, then the marinas of Connecticut, then the cottages of the Jersey Shore, deserted. Where had all the people gone? to their Tri-Honda dealers to pick up their new Civics, Accords, and Preludes. Where had all the Hondas been? Let's just say they were on a little cruise. Your New York, New Jersey, Connecticut Tri-Honda dealers.
To Chemical Bank, New York is more than Manhattan Island. For instance, there's City Island, Roosevelt Island, and Coney Island, each with a chemistry all its own. And chemical is a part of that chemistry. On Fire Island, that means having a branch where the tellers move at 30 knots. On Long Island, it means providing a bus to the bank for senior citizens. So whatever island you're a native of, from Manhattan Island to Little Gull Island, you'll find the chemistry just right at Chemical.
The rumor runs New York State will soon begin an amnesty period for tax delinquents. Doug Johnson says it's a chance to avoid stiff penalties, and the program may attract as many as 500,000 people and businesses.
Reports say that starting November 1st, New York taxpayers will have a 3-month amnesty to pay taxes, legal taxes, that have gone unpaid. If the taxes are paid within that period, cheaters will avoid any of the penalty provisions of the old law or any of the provisions of the new tax law, which makes some tax crimes a felony. Until now, they have been misdemeanors. Some of the things on the list of felony tax crimes: failure to file for 3 or more years in a row with intent to evade, filing a false or fraudulent return, understating liability by $1,500 or more, helping others to file false returns with intent to evade personal or corporate taxes, failure to collect sales tax with intent to defraud the state of $10,000 or more. All of those, some of the felonies in the new law. The state is expecting about 500,000 applications will be filed under this amnesty provision. The state is also expecting to make about $75 million. Though tax amnesty is a break for the taxpayer, it's also a good way for money to roll into state coffers, as evidenced by what has happened in other states that have created an amnesty.
Massachusetts collected over $70 million, Illinois over 90, and California over 150 million.
So it was effective?
Quite effective, and it's effective, we felt, in future years because the people going on the rolls will have to pay tax in the future where they may have before not been known to the state.
Tomorrow morning, the governor will hold a news conference, and he is expected to outline the rules of this amnesty program. He's also expected to stress that this is a one-time only opportunity. However, those who know say this is a really good deal for the states, and who knows, maybe sometime, a few years down the road, they may just offer amnesty again. Doug Johnson, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
No break for the former Atlantic City Mayor, Michael Matthews, says his prison term too harsh, sent up last year on charges of selling his influence to casino operators. The judge gave him 15 years. Matthews said that's too much. He appealed. Today he got his answer. Federal appeals court said Matthews never showed he was sorry. Serve your term.
Years ago, a lot of Chinese businessmen moved away from Chinatown here in New York City because they were afraid of Asian gangs and the extortion that was their practice. But the problem of these gangs is no longer confined to Lower Manhattan. Gloria Rojas tells us people across the Hudson River are just as concerned with gangs demanding protection money.
Many owners of small Chinese stores and restaurants figure extortion to the tens of thousands of dollars is just another business expense in Chinatown. But not one man who crossed the river into Bergen County to start a business. The threat started here too. The Chinese gangs were moving in, but this time, he said, it stops here.
Pay is no last time. Maybe we pay first time, second time, third time, again more.
Forever.
That's why they call the police.
The threats from gangs are phrased in the worst way imaginable, the way that leaves it all up to your own imagination. For example, we know who your wife is, we know what she looks like, we know who your children are, we know where you live. One of the regulars and friends in the small Bergen County restaurant is Detective Charles Gormley.
People who come out of Chinatown and cross the river into New Jersey and open restaurants are pretty much pioneers in and of themselves, and that shows a necessary amount of chutzpah. But they obviously come out here for different reasons. I think one of the reasons was to leave the influence of the gangs.
The Canton Taste on East Broadway has been the scene of several shootings. With the help of a wiretap and New York City police, it was the place designated for the exchange of money.
The New York City Police Department was very cooperative. They provided Oriental police officers in plain clothes to pose as patrons in the store. And when the arrest was effected, there was more than enough police protection.
These gangs of young people in Chinatown aren't just operating on their own, they answer to higher-ups. Who are those higher-ups? That's where the investigation is headed to now. Gloria Rojas, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Just a moment, Storm Field will join us with the forecast, and the Mets are in St. Louis for a showdown series. We'll have a full report on what they're doing there when we come back in a moment.
Catch a rising star, the Irvine Hilton and Towers, America's newest business address in Orange County near Los Angeles.
Wednesday at Macy's and Bamberger's one-day sale. Save 30% off every ladies' coat, every raincoat and jacket. 20% off men's European and traditional designer suit selections. 50% off selected freshwater pearl strand and sterling silver chains. Royal Gallery 92-piece fine china, service for $12, only $99. Selected Famous Maker sheet clearance, twin size, just $2.99. Most stores open 9 till 11 at Macy's and Bamberger's one-day sale. Wednesday.
Introducing Always Save, a new brand at Waldbaum's. Always Save means always 10 to 40% lower than national brands. Always Save. Always Save means that you always save on over 150 different items. Always Save. Always Waldbaum's, guaranteed unconditionally for quality and high nutritional value. Always Save. Save like you've never saved before with Always Save.
Only at Waldbaum's.
Some people say we're fighting a losing battle out here. Well, for my money, the ones doing the talking are the real losers.
James Barkey is a first-class policeman, but first, he's a human being.
They've lost sight of the good people, the good things happening all around them. Even worse, talk is all they do. They're not acting on any of the very real problems we're facing.
Just as all of us rely on people like James Barkey to assure our well-being, 900,000 New Yorkers have come to rely on the health insurance plan of Greater New York for high-quality health care at truly affordable, predictable cost, with a range of services to both protect your good health and care for you when you're sick.
The way I see it, life's not a spectator sport. It rewards the participants. Oh, not in a way that'll improve your bank balance. But then, a bank balance can't touch your heart.
The health insurance plan of Greater New York.
It was a good day, so we wish Stormfield good evening.
Thank you very much, William. It was a great day, wasn't it? Yeah. Warmer than yesterday. Plenty of sunshine was ours. A terrific day to enjoy the outdoors. The outdoors are still going to be fine over the next several days. The problem is that you're not going to feel quite as warm and as comfortable over the next couple of days because it seems like things are going to be getting just a bit more chilly. Let's take a look at our readings. Where we are at the moment, 71 degrees. The humidity was 66% earlier this evening. At the moment, it is, ta-da, 74%. Which is, oh boy, 8% higher. Again, the temperature dropping down a little bit is increasing that humidity just a little bit, but it's still not a factor because the temperatures are not very high. As far as the barometric pressure, holding steady in the last hour, the winds right now coming from the south at 12 miles an hour. Our high for today, 78 degrees, as expected, the low 62, right on the mark as far as our forecast, but warmer than normal by some 7 degrees. As a matter of fact, as you look over the readings for this date so far, this month, as compared to last year and compared to normal, we're about twice as warm as normally expected to be in this winter period. And so far, we're also about 4 times as warm as we were last year. Records for the state, 88 degrees, 1927, 36, the record low in 1947. Air quality today was fine, tomorrow also good. Let's take a look at what we have. 30-day outlook from the National Weather Service. As far as the temperature is concerned, notice that what we're looking at is for the next 30 days this month, expected to be warmer than normal throughout the entire forecast area. Normal as you move to the southeast. The only place it gets colder is as you move out to the west. What about precipitation? We need a little bit of rain, but for us, it looks to be over the next 30 days, normal rainflow patterns, which means that we really can't expect much in the way of any kind of alleviation as so far as the drought situation is concerned, which means we have to continue to conserve water. And think about it, midsection of the United States seeming to get more. At least that's the long-range outlook at this time. Right now we've got a frontal line that is slowly making its way towards us. As the front makes its way to us, we're going to see more and more in the way of clouds. This is much colder air back here behind it. That cold air is going to dig in underneath. The cold air is staying around for tomorrow, and as the front moves away from us, notice the change. The front has moved away, but there's still some clouds in evidence here, and the result of that, the cause of that is the fact that we've got cold air on the surface, warm air up above it. The combination, that churning action, is going to give us the variable clouds mixed with some sunshine. So here's how our forecast is going to be shaping up as we're looking at over the next couple of days. Tonight it's going to be clouding up. After midnight, a possibility of some late spritzes, especially as you move west and south away from the city. Then for tomorrow, expect a little bit of a change coming our way. It's going to be a combination of sun and clouds, more clouds than sun it looks like. Damp, a possibility here and there of maybe a spritz. Temperatures much cooler than today, down by 12 degrees. And then tomorrow evening becoming partly cloudy and nippy, readings dropping down into the 50s. Again, we'll have an extended forecast for you a little bit later in the program. Roger?
Well, the Commerce Department today tells us that spending for new construction went up 1.1% in August to $344 billion. Government construction actually dropped, but more than offset by private sector increases in both construction, residential, and commercial.
And the government does say the economy turned brighter in August and the dollar is going down in value around the world. All that might mean a better climate for business. So for these and other reasons, Wall Street had a terrific day today. The Dow Jones Industrials are up 12.32 to close at 1340.95. An average share of common stock on the New York Stock Exchange was up 49 cents on very heavy volume of 130,240,000 shares. The American Exchange Market Value Index was also up substantially, up 1.92 to close at 224.23.
When we continue, a West Side drug war involving murder now brings notice to people in a housing complex to get out.
Tony and I talked last night.
You didn't work it out, did you?
No, it's over.
Look, I know you tried.
I've decided to call a lawyer.
When it's time to call a lawyer about a divorce, call Jacoby and Myers.
Nancy, I'm sorry about your uncle. Anything I can do?
Thanks, Tom. I did promise Aunt Millie I'd find a probate lawyer, you know, with a will transferring the property.
I know someone.
When it's time to call a probate lawyer, call Jacoby and Myers. Jacoby and Myers. It's about time.
Some Air Express companies must have special training classes. Otherwise, where would they come up with their excuses?
I know the package is late, but there's a lot of traffic between here and the airport.
Excellent. Delivery by 10:30 a.m. We'll make every conceivable effort. Very good.
Got a man out sick and another just quit on me.
Wonderful. There's only one reason to choose an Air Express company: reliability. And that means Federal Express. Why fool around with anyone else?
There's no sense in rehashing. They have to improve the deal.
American had the first flight. You're set.
Perfect. What's the best they can offer?
Looks like 52 a share.
Not good enough.
This is from Legal. Here are your tickets. You have boarding passes and seat assignments. It's American. Go straight to the gate. Good luck.
Luck? Luck is for rabbits. When you're something special, people know it.
The excitement, suspense, and drama of thoroughbred racing. It happens again and again, night after night at the Meadowlands.
The search on tonight in New York for a killer. He's a man suspected of killing his sister and making a hit list of people living in his apartment building. Police are looking for 53-year-old Henry Zalewski from the Greenpoint section of Brooklyn. They say he beat a neighbor, shoved her down the stairs yesterday after strangling his sister, then ran off.
Persons within the area state to us that they very rarely have seen him. In fact, a particular individual in the building said that she hadn't seen him in 2 years, even though he lived there. So the problems we're having with this individual is that not too many people knew much about his background or his habits.
Police are circulating this composite sketch of Zalewski, made from a 30-year-old photograph. Anyone with information should contact the 9-4 precinct. Bill?
People who live in two buildings on the Upper West Side of Manhattan are being evicted. The buildings are said to be drug hangouts, and in one of them, a woman who tried to clean it all up was murdered. Details now tonight from Louis Young. Louis?
Well, Bill, in the seamier parts of this town, drug sales, assault, even murder are relatively commonplace. But when the expensive condominiums come onto the block, a new magnitude of law and order frequently follows. Such is the case on West 89th Street. The city's movement against a small drug market in the 24th precinct gives us a glimpse at Manhattan's dark underside. A glimpse that includes murder. The city-owned buildings at 133 and 135 West 89th Street are becoming part of an island of squalor in a changing neighborhood. This is a place where, by all accounts, drugs have been for sale across from a public school, a supermarket for drugs that police say is still active. This is a place where Nilka Ortiz was murdered August 28th after complaining about the drug traffic and naming names. The murder sparked city action. 5 tenants whose apartments are thought to be used for drug sales have received eviction notices. Court proceedings began today. But other tenants in the building say they complained to the city about drug sales here on 89th Street for years. They say city officials did nothing. They say the problem is partially the city's fault.
They were just hoping that it would just kind of burn itself out. You know, drugs, people getting
For what reason? Why would they want it to burn itself out?
So they could close the building down. You know about the urban renewal area that's over 20 years old, it's supposed to provide low-income housing. The city decided that maybe they don't want that they would rather use the space for luxury housing.
Sonia Barandarian has been living here 6 years. She is a legal resident of the building. Many others here are squatters. Some who are facing eviction are complaining.
That's my apartment.
They say drugs are sold out of there.
No, not no more. They haven't been sold drugs out of there for a whole year.
The lady was killed here, right?
That's true, but that was the past tense. Not every day that a lady gets killed.
What did you buy here?
Nickel bags.
Of what?
Pot.
What about Coke?
No, Coke, it was Philly Laporte.
Oh, that's across the hall.
Yes.
This is the apartment where authorities tell us Felix Laporte dealt drugs here on West 89th Street. He's in jail now, charged with paying $300 for the death of Nilka Ortiz. Yet he does not hold the lease to this apartment. Someone else will be evicted. So now you're going to get evicted because of Felix Laporte?
Yeah.
Did you know he was doing things like that? Do you think he would hire a killer?
I don't know, no. I don't know.
Deputy Housing Commissioner Joseph Schullander says the city is proceeding with the evictions in an attempt to stabilize the buildings and reduce crime. Evictions, however, are tough to make stick. With so many homeless already roaming our streets, judges are hesitant to add to their ranks, even when the apartments they used to occupy were used for drug sales. Roger.
Israeli planes hit a target in Tunisia. That was a big trip. We'll explain why when we return.
I'm just wild about Harrah's, and Harrah's wild about you. Our main attraction is friendly action to put a winning smile on you.
They'll make you feel like a million.
Plus we throw in free parking too. Oh, I'm just wild about Harrah's, and Harrah's wild about you.
Harrah's Marina Hotel Casino.
Wednesday at Macy's and Bamberger's one-day sale. Save 30% off every lady's coat, every raincoat and jacket. 20% off men's European and traditional designer suit selections. 50% off selected freshwater pearl strand and sterling silver chains. Royal Gallery 92-piece fine china. Service for $12, only $99. Selected famous maker sheet clearance. Twin size, just $2.99. Most stores open 9 till 11 at Macy's and Bamberger's one-day sale. Wednesday.
When you're in the business of saving lives, you better not let your transmission die. That's why many ambulance fleets go to AMCO, because AMCO does better than fix your transmission. They rebuild it to perform like new. Ambulances can't take unnecessary risks. Should you? Go where you know it's better than fixed. It's AMCO, AA, MCO.
Drink, 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 St. Regis the wine without the alcohol. Drink, 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 St. Regis the wine without the alcohol. Drink, 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 a toast to St. Regis, one taste says it all.
St. Regis Blanc and Rosé. Bold, luscious, refreshing wine without the alcohol. So you can drink all you want, whenever you want.
Drink, 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 St. Regis the wine without alcohol. Let's drink.
At Fletcher's Supermarket.
If the anonymous telephone caller in Beirut was telling the truth, the Soviet Union is feeling the unleashed fury of Islamic fundamentalism. The caller said the Islamic Jihad has killed 2 of the 4 Soviet embassy officials who were kidnapped yesterday in Beirut. A Christian news agency in Beirut says all 4 are still safe, but the Jihad says they killed the commercial attaché and the doctor who were among the kidnapped. The White House denounced the kidnapping, whether the executions happened or not, denounced them as terrorism, said that shows that all nations have to fight against terrorism. The Islamic Jihad says the kidnapping was done to force the Soviets to stop Syrian attacks on Islamic strongholds in Tripoli, Lebanon. Roger?
6 Israeli jet fighters refueled in flight managed the 1,500 miles to Tunisia for a reason. They destroyed the PLO headquarters. They killed at least 60. Yasser Arafat here looking at the accomplishment. He pledges revenge, concedes the death toll. The raid, retaliation for the killing of 3 Israelis on Cyprus last week. Some nations condemned the strike. The U.S. position, it was self-defense on the part of Israel. A Czech military jet fired 2, maybe 4 rockets at a U.S. Army Cobra attack helicopter. They missed. We and German civilian observers say the Cobra was a mile inside West Germany. The Czech jet violated their airspace. The incident reported today happened Saturday. No hits, no damage, no injuries, but a protest in strong terms. The White House says the Soviet proposal for a 50% reduction in nuclear weapons is under serious study, both here and in Geneva. At issue, whether it would give the Russians unilateral first strike capability, and overall, whether it would ensure Soviet supremacy. If so, forget it.
President Reagan met for a while with reporters today to announce the resignation of Margaret Heckler as Health and Human Services Secretary. She will become now ambassador to Ireland. Ms. Heckler was at the president's side as they both denied persistent rumors in Washington that she was forced out of the cabinet by White House Chief of Staff Donald Regan.
No, he and I have talked about this and how to resolve this, and no, he's...
You don't think he had anything to do with stirring this up?
No, he's on our side.
And Mr. Reagan also apologized for not speaking out sooner to counter what he called malicious gossip about Ms. Heckler's performance as secretary. When the job of ambassador to Ireland was first mentioned to her back in August, she is quoted as saying, "Yes, it's a nice job, but for somebody else." Roger?
At the University of Notre Dame today, John Cardinal O'Connor joined Chicago's Cardinal Joseph Bernardine to discuss matters of social issues facing the church. At a news conference prior to the conference, Cardinal O'Connor was asked about Geraldine Ferraro's just-released autobiography, in which she called O'Connor's conduct during last year's presidential campaign strident, crossing the line between church and state. Governor Cuomo's position on abortion was also raised.
I don't think it was strident. There may have been some who felt that I stepped over this so-called line. My conviction was that the teaching of the Catholic Church was being misrepresented or confused. To the degree that that spills over into the body politic, I'd have to say that there's a tremendous amount of Catholic teaching that spills over into the body politic. Oh, I would certainly agree that one could not, quote, legislate abortion away if that's what the governor said. But my friend, the governor, and I discussed these things, and I think that he's struggling through some problems in his own mind on them and trying to reach some reasonable conclusions.
Cardinal O'Connor asked if Governor Cuomo might change his mind on abortion, said he can't speak for the governor. Bill.
Up next, the Mets. Spencer with tonight's sports and Corey McFerrin live in St. Louis, where the Mets are for a showdown or shootout tonight when we come back in a moment.
20, 30.
What was the score of the game last night?
62-60, 70.
What a game.
Does it seem that people at your bank don't really care how they spend your time? Maybe it's about time you moved your banking. At Marine Midland, we have something going on called the Extra Effort Program. We reward our people who give you the best in rapid but attentive service. Think about it. You can make it happen with Marine.
Heath introduces a new soft and crunchy candy bar.
It's soft.
It's crunchy.
Toffee tidbits covered with real milk chocolate. It's Heath's new soft and crunchy.
For a midday snack, you can't beat a Heath.
Heath's new soft and crunchy.
You can't beat a Heath.
I love the great taste of Heath.
America's original toffee bar.
Rich English toffee covered with real milk chocolate.
For a quick pick-me-up, you can't beat a Heath.
America's original toffee bar.
You can't beat a Heath.
If you love the taste of fresh squeezed oranges, you'll love the taste of Tropicana Pure Premium Orange Juice. Other brands add water to make their juice from concentrate. We don't. No water, no concentrate. Just pure Florida squeezed juice. That's why it's called Pure Premium. It costs us more to bring you such fresh squeezed taste, but we think it's worth it. Tropicana Pure Premium.
We're Beatrice.
Save on every rug like this hand-tufted, hand-carved Chinese rug, just $499 at Macy's and Bamberger's one-day sale Wednesday.
Spencer, you're too young to remember when they used to say about St. Louis, first in booze, first in shoes, and last in the American League. Unfortunately, it's not the National League.
That's right. That St. Louis is gone. That St. Louis team is gone, I should say. The Mets will play the most important game of their season tonight in St. Louis when they open a three-game series with the first-place Cardinals. And nothing less than a three-game sweep will give the Mets a reasonable chance of winning the National League East title. Here's a look at the standings going into tonight's game. Mets trail the Cards by 3 games with 6 games left in the season. If the Mets sweep in St. Louis, they'll return home tied for first place to play their final 3 games against the Expos at Shea. Corey McFerrin is standing by in St. Louis right now with a live report from Busch Memorial Stadium, the scene of tonight's drama. Corey?
The scene of the drama. Thank you very much, Spencer. As you can see, some of the Cardinals coming off the field behind us. They're finishing up batting practice. Temperature here at Busch Stadium about 55 degrees. Going to be very cool tonight. Talking about the Cardinals, pretty confident, cocky bunch. They have reason to be with a 3-game lead. A lot of things have to go right for the Mets this week, of course. And also, I mean, you got John Tudor on the mound, their ace pitcher. They're on turf. The defense of the Cardinals, everybody knows, is superb. They play great here on the turf. And then you got the speed factor. To give you an idea just how quick these Cardinals are, they have 307 bases on the year as a team. Only one other team in baseball history has stolen more.
Here's the main threat. 23-year-old Vince Coleman never set foot in a Major League park before this year. He's stolen 19 straight for an incredible Major League leading total of 109.
It gives us something a little extra to think about, which as a pitcher you want to think as least amount as possible. You want to just worry about getting the hitter out. But sure, it gives them a little advantage. But like I said, if we can keep them off base, then it makes our job that much easier.
Rick will try and keep the Cards off the bases on Thursday. Now here's the guy who'll go tomorrow night. Dwight Gooden finds out he's got plenty of friends here in St. Louis.
He's my favorite player in the majors.
The Mets are going to win 3 games, and then they're going to play the Expos, win 3, and they're going to win the pennant.
All right, we're here live with Ray Knight, and yes, there are a few Mets fans here as the people start to circulate. Ray, here we go. This is it. How is the ball club right now feeling, if you can describe it for us?
Well, we're really excited. The only thing that I can say is just enthusiasm. We kept seeing the Cardinals win, and we were winning, but I think we won 9 out of 12 games and lost a game, and they just continue to win. And just to come here and be just 3 games out, which is a lot, but it's not an insurmountable task to beat these Cardinals. They're an outstanding ball club, but at least we have it in our own hands now, and we have an opportunity to go home even, and we can't blame anybody but ourselves.
Whitey Herzog juggled his starting rotation, put John Tudor tonight to start off this series. Can you guys beat him? He had trouble with him last month. Everybody in the league has trouble with him.
Well, he's not unbeatable. He's an outstanding pitcher, probably the outstanding pitcher in our league right now, he and Dwight. But I like the way they've done it. If we beat him, then we've got Doc going tomorrow, and so it's really a 1-game series either way you look at it. We must beat him tonight. If we beat him, then the momentum turns to our side because I think they're going to have a tough time beating Doc and not chalking up those 2 victories, but it would be nice to have those 2 victories going into the last game, and then you only have to have a 1-game winning streak to go home even. John Tudor's an outstanding pitcher, but I think tonight it's obviously the key, and we can beat him. He's going to be tough to beat, but we can beat him.
All right, here's one confident Met right here. Ray Knight, good luck tonight, Ray.
Thank you very much.
All right, Ray Knight starting at third base tonight. The Mets and the Cardinals back with more. 11 o'clock tonight. Back to you, Spencer.
All right, Corey, thank you, and maybe it'll be a good night for Ray. Meanwhile, the Yanks are still alive in the American League East after completing a 4-game sweep of the Orioles last night at the stadium. But once again, Phil Niekro was not able to get that elusive career win number 300. Niekro went 7 2/3 innings before leaving the game with the Yanks trailing 4-2, thanks in part to this 8th inning blast by Wayne Gross, a solo home run to right center field. But the Yanks rallied in the bottom of the ninth. Don Mattingly up with a man on base. Mattingly unloads a 2-run home run into the right center field seats. Mattingly now has 34 home runs on the year, 142 RBIs. Then, after a Dave Winfield double, Don Baylor delivered the game winner, a single right here to right field. Winfield comes around to score, and the Yanks come from behind to win it 5-4. So, with the first-place Blue Jays off last night, the Yanks move within 5 games of the division leaders. And with 7 games to play, including 3 with the Blue Jays, the Yanks still have a shot at winning the division, but the Blue Jays would have to pull El Foldo Grande for that to happen. Meanwhile, the best pennant race in baseball is still in the American League West, where the Angels and Royals are tied for first place thanks to a Royals win over California last night in Kansas City. 7th inning action. They're tied 1 apiece. John Candelaria on the mound facing Jim Sundberg, and Sundberg clobbers one to straightaway center field. Gary Pettis hopes for a play, but forget it. Royals take a 2-1 lead. 9th inning now, 3-1 Royals. Angels have the tying run at the plate in the form of Reggie Jackson, but Reggie takes a called third strike from Brett Saberhagen. Saberhagen gets his 20th win of the year. Angels lose to the Royals 3-1. So the Angels and Royals go at it again tonight, while back in the East, the Yanks host the Brewers, and the Jays play the Tigers in Detroit. In basketball, the Knicks are excitedly constructing their Twin Towers strategy now that they have both Patrick Ewing and Bill Cartwright in camp. Here's one of those Twin Towers, 7-foot Patrick Ewing. Cartwright at 7'1" is the other tower. They'll be joined by 6'9" Pat Cummings. So the Knicks will have a big front line, but can they keep up with the faster teams?
Some nights we will have major flaws in our defensive coverage, but I would like to believe every night the opposition is going to have a defensive problem in matching up with us.
I think the big thing is that they can't double team people now. They're going to have to play Billy Cartwright, who's a good scorer inside. They're going to have to play Patrick, and they're not going to be able to double team either, any 3 of us. So it's going to create a lot of opportunities for one-on-one situations for us.
Cartwright, by the way, back from that stress fracture in his foot last year. He looks like he's in fantastic condition. All right, in football, the Buffalo Bills today fired head coach Kay Stevenson and replaced him with assistant Hank Bullock. The Bills are off to an 0-4 start this season. Last night in Pittsburgh, the Cincinnati Bengals, who had gotten off to an 0-3 start, won their first game of the year over the Steelers. Not a good night, though, for the flea flicker. First quarter, Bengals in white try it, giving it to wide receiver Chris Collinsworth. Here comes his first pass, intercepted by Eric Williams. Collinsworth should probably stick to catching the football. Fourth quarter now, Steelers give the flea flicker a try, but Lewis Lips loses the handle on the ball while trying to flip it back to Mark Malone. The Bengals recover the loose ball, trailing 24-21, and the Bengals take advantage as quarterback Boomer Esiason throws one of his 3 touchdown passes, hitting Rodney Holman for a 4-yard score. Bengals go on top for good, upsetting the Steelers in Pittsburgh 37-24. That's sports for now. We'll have more from St. Louis tonight at 11. Be there. Bill?
Thank you, Spencer. Stormfield will be back in just a moment. Also, Milton Lewis is back sorting his mail, ready to read it for us in a moment.
Why pound the pavement searching for the highest rates on money market accounts when CBT has them most of the time? CBT, when you're ready to demand more from a bank.
Wednesday at Macy's and Bamberger's one-day sale. Save 30% off every lady's coat, every raincoat and jacket. 20% off men's European and traditional designer suit selections. 50% off selected freshwater pearl strands and sterling silver chains. Royal Gallery 92-piece fine china. Service for $12, only $99. Selected famous maker sheet clearance. Twin size, just $2.99. Most stores open 9 till 11 at Macy's and Bamberger's one-day sale. Wednesday.
The Delta professionals always make you feel like you're on top of the world. Delta gets you there.
Have you heard the latest?
Action fans, check out this doubleheader on the next Entertainment Tonight. First, it's Master Blaster Chuck Norris taking on an army of terrorists as E.T. reviews Invasion USA. Then, Knots Landing's Lisa Hartman is on the case in Beverly Hills as a cowgirl cop.
She's great with a gun.
Plus, part 2 of a special anniversary tribute to screen legend James Dean.
I love you too.
All coming up on the next Entertainment Tonight at 7:30 tonight, right here on Channel 7.
One reminder, landlords in New York City have till midnight tonight to install water-saving shower heads in those apartments they own. The city says the water savers cost about $1 each and could save the city as much as 100 million gallons of water a day, and they have to be in by midnight tonight. Quick word, brief word from Stormfield.
Okay, thanks very much, Bill. Here's how the forecast is going to be shaping up. Going out tonight, well, you don't have much to worry about unless you're going to be out after midnight. This is the way things are going to be shaping up. For tonight, more in the way of clouds coming our way and a possibility, once those clouds come in, of maybe some late spritzes moving through after midnight into the early morning hours. Temperature expected to be about 58 degrees tonight, overnight into tomorrow, which is a little bit cooler than normal. Tomorrow looks like a combination of sunshine and clouds, more clouds than sun. It's going to be damp, possibility again of maybe a few showers in and around the region, but nothing heavy or anything really big to worry about. Readings about 66 when you think of today's high being 78. That means a drop tomorrow of 12 degrees, so remember it when you get dressed tomorrow. The next outlook for Thursday through Saturday looks to be pretty good, more in the way of sunshine, but notice again the reading staying on the cool side, dropping off to about 63 degrees, at least 10 degrees below normal for this time of year. Roger?
Well, our Milton Lewis has been away, as you know, for some time because of a back problem. Well, Milton is back. His back's better. As a matter of fact, he's so optimistic he reads his mail.
As a veteran chronicler of the metropolitan scene, it is not at all unusual for a modest Milton Lewis to get a fair amount of mail. Not all of it, of course, overly favorable. For instance, a postcard from Jackson Heights, Queens says, "Dear Milt, your wig looks so silly, the damn thing is at a 45-degree angle. It makes your eyes like they are looking at one another." It's accompanied by a sketch. A Brooklyn viewer is not concerned about my hair or lack thereof, but about bus service, wondering, why do we have to wait for a bus 20 to 30 minutes, and then 3 come along at once? Please see what you can do. Talk to Ed. You know, Koch. And from Newark came this lament. Near the World Trade Center, a man was selling cherries on a wagon. The sign said cherries, $1 a pound. I paid for a pound, and my friend paid for 2 pounds. We came home, and my friend weighed the cherries on her scale, which is accurate. She found the cherries weighed only 1 pound. My bag weighed a ½ pound. I feel like such a fool. I didn't think they had such cheaters in New York. And the Brooklyn mother of 2 kids wants to know if I was in her 1947 class at William Howard Taft High School. Its yearbook, she writes, has a picture of somebody who strongly resembles Milton Lewis. Only the name under that photo was Milton Georgeopoulos. The letter concludes, "If you are who I think you are, please write to me, as my children and I will really get a kick out of it. And if you are not Milton Georgeopoulos, Eyewitness News will still be our favorite TV news program." I wrote that lady that I never went to William Howard Taft High School, and that I was never known as Milton Georgeopoulos, only as Milton Lewis of Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
And he never wanted to do the 5 or the 11. Hoping your news is good news, I'm Roger Grimsby.
And Milton, welcome back if you're watching the show, and I assume you are. Next on Channel 7, Peter Jennings in the ABC World News Tonight. I'm Bill Butel. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. Good luck and be well.